I am Sarah Scarborough, founder of Tea Huntress. For me, tea is so much more than a healthy beverage. Stretching across millennia, tea has been revered as a ritual, a meditation, a wellness practice, a way to reconnect with yourself and others, and to cultivate moments of stillness and beauty. Visit us at teahuntress.com to discover high vibe teas, an immersive online tea school, and transformational experiences that will awaken you to the magic of life. That is teahuntress.com.
Welcome to Without Maps, the podcast. I'm your host, travel writer and rabble-rouser, Daniel Scheffler. For the last 2 decades, I've been working as a travel writer for publications like the New York Times, Condé Nast Traveler, and the Wall Street Journal. And I've traveled to about 130 countries. If you don't know me at all, well, now is as good a time as ever to get acquainted. I was born in Africa, bred in Europe, and now I live in America. And with this mix of an accent and as much wit as I can muster up, I shall offer you some heart knowledge. During the show, you'll meet my husband, Michael, the Jersey boy I married, and our pup, Ella, a street dog from Puerto Rico. The show is a delight of travel stories and some lessons from the world showcasing the humanity that I believe in. My belief is that travel is a mirror of ourselves and a reminder to have zero expectations, to let connections happen, and to avoid the preconceived ideas we foster. This show is for people willing to forego the guidebook and the map and let travel be their convoy. So, out with the biased and in with the unbidden. Please join me as I venture into the world without maps.
Hi, Bob Guccione. How are you?
Hi, Daniel Scheffler, superstar.
No, you're the superstar. Today I was thinking, we've known each other for a really, really long time. I
Yeah.
I've been married to Michael for almost 10 years, and by the time I married Michael, I was already married to you. Like it, it came as a package deal. Like, oh, I have this
Goodness.
other husband. I don't have to have sex with him. I just have to carry him on my back, and sometimes he carries me on his back. So you don't mind, do you? And Michael was
Yeah.
like, "Oh no, he seems fine."
Good. That's very good because Michael's very smart. Basically,
Oh,
we're what do you call it? Platonic bigamists.
oh, exactly. That's perfect. It's
Perfect.
it's a dream relationship.
It really is. It really is. Because I am myself, although not married to Liza, been with her for 22 years,
It's a long
and
time.
and she clearly by now has established who's superior in this relationship, and it's not me.
Right, right,
And
right.
so, I am also a bigamist then. We have each
Well,
other down to the end.
oh, thank you. I was wondering today what your first memory of your first trip ever was, travel-wise. Like, I don't mean like leaving the house, but I mean like somewhere.
Oh, I have one.
Oh, you do? Do
Funny
tell.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that. I immediately thought of one thing. When I was about 5, we crossed the Atlantic
Oh.
on the USS something or other. Forgot what it
Hmm.
was. So it's long been decommissioned. But it was at the time the biggest ocean cruiser in the world. And my father and I went to see a movie in the cinema, which I was just, of course, the fact that it was on a boat was amazing. The fact that the boat had a cinema, and we're not talking a screening room, we're talking a real cinema, like the old days,
Fabulous.
you know, 70
Projector.
screens. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I saw um, the movie King of Kings. Is it? First movie,
Unbelievable.
King of Kings, all about Jesus. And I was about 5 years old.
Wow. It
Yeah.
it sort of makes a little bit sense to me now because I guess judging by your relationship with your father, this was the movie for the two of you to see together, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. That's interesting. You extrapolate that, um, because he was certainly a king in his world in his time.
Right, right. Your
He was a
father
king
was a
to me.
legend.
Exactly, he was a king to me. And we fought like Hamlet and the king.
Right, right.
The king fought.
It
Uh,
immediately made sense to me.
yeah, that's so funny. And you know, I, I was his namesake, his firstborn son, a second-born child, but firstborn son, and first in his marriage to my mother. But um, so it was always a element of didn't know it then, but post-cultural reference, mini me. I was a mini me.
Oh, wow.
And of
Yeah,
course, I would also had his fierce independence and stubbornness and you know belief in myself. And so it made for a relationship that was complicated, difficult, glorious, loving. Um, you know, I guess you'd have to say competitive at times, but always really behind all that was a great support for each other.
right.
Fascinating dynamic. But that was my first travel that I remember. It was not my first trip. We had moved from America to Paris when I was two, apparently. I mean, there's a photograph of me in Paris. I know I was there. Um,
Right.
my father was a painter and wanted to be in Paris where all the painters were in the
Well,
50s.
we're also where all the women were,
Yes,
right?
he found women everywhere he went. My
Oh,
dad,
fine.
my
Fine.
dad
Well,
was a
so
magnet.
did you, Bob.
Yeah. I never really thought of it though as being, that particularly successful with the opposite sex. Looking back on it, I can see that I probably, was quite.
Well, you dated lots of famous people and you dated lots of interesting people. I mean, I'm just so glad you
I
settled with
remember the
Liza.
interesting ones. I remember the famous ones too because they're famous, but they don't intrigue me as much as the really interesting characters that
Right.
I have been with. And
Right.
Liza's.
Like Mary Magdalene, like you were with Mary Magdalene, right? At some point. And I
No,
don't, I can't, how old are you
I'm not
again?
that old, Dan. I'm not that old. I'm not 2,000 years old.
Right. Ruth, how was she?
Yeah, she's not looking as good as she did 2,000 years ago.
Oh, right. Cleopatra?
Still hottie, but
Yeah. Oh my God.
so it's funny because you talk about travel. Obviously, there's about travel, and so many of my travel experiences really are marked by intriguing relationships, some brief, some long, that I
Right.
had. And one of my favorite, and I don't think this makes me look good, stories is only once in my life that I actually have two girlfriends. Many times I
Oh,
dated many different women at the same time, but they weren't girlfriends.
right.
The two women I loved, one of whom had broken up with me and moved to Paris. And then I subsequently met a woman who was a model in Paris. And so I was dating her. And then the first woman came back and wanted to, have another go. So we did. But she still lived in Paris, and my new girlfriend lived in Paris. And I was very, very torn as to which one I should commit myself to. I was wary with the first one because she'd already left me. And the new one was obviously new and exciting. So
Right.
what happened was I dated them both for a while. Now they both lived in Paris. So it was a lot of traveling,
Uh-huh.
They'd
Uh-huh.
come to New York, but mostly I'd go to Paris. Every 2 weeks I'd go to Paris to see one of them. The killer is they both lived on the same street.
Oh
Um,
no. You should have
Edith-
given each a bank. Left bank for you, right bank for you.
oh, dude, it wasn't in my control. And Quai de Jumap, which of course I remember,
Oh
they
no.
lived within three little mini Parisian blocks of each other. So
Oh no.
I was, I must have lost years of my life to the stress of visiting one, knowing the other one was 3 blocks away. They never found out. Well, actually, that's
Oh,
not true. Years and years later, one of them did find out. Somebody ratted on me and told one of them, but she just thought it was funny by that point.
right.
Uh, and they were both very memorable, lovely. One was quite brilliant actually. The other one was quite wacky, but sweet, fun, interesting people with whom I had a lot of very, very interesting experiences.
I
And
like that.
yeah, and I've always, look, you know me a long time, as you point out. I didn't realize it was quite as long as a decade, but you're right, you know.
More
And
than a decade, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and you know, and that time has flown. But I I love people, as you know, and
Yes.
I'm intrigued by everybody I meet until I'm not
Right.
intrigued. Some people are just not
Right.
intrigued.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you start by believing that they're interesting and one is
Well,
open.
I think we fundamentally have that same belief, right? Like we both
Yes.
want, and that's why we travel, or that's why we'll go out in the world, right? Like we try, I speak to everyone from the
Yeah.
checkout person to the valet person, like I'm just thinking about my afternoon. Like there was someone in the gym, there was someone at the coffee shop, there was someone at the hotel, and and I'm always like, what's your story? Let me dig, let me understand. Oh, explain this to me. Like we went to
Mhm.
charge the car, right? We drove today in Oregon. I just arrived in Portland, and at the car charger, there was a person, and she was doing a kind of exercise. I guess she'd been driving for a long time, so I joined her, and I was like, "Oh, I'll join you in this. This seems like a good thing." Michael was watching this situation. He was like, "Fucking lunatics," and then, of course, she and I did not agree politically, which came up in the conversation. But then we discussed it, and I listened to her. She listened to me. We talked a little bit. I was like, okay, interesting. I'm learning new things. I didn't know this. I didn't understand this. And and that's like, and then I went into some fucking crazy dive bar where we were charging to go use the restroom. So I went in, and the woman's like, I said, "Oh, can I use the restroom?" She goes, "Yeah, but you have to ring the bell and buy someone a drink." I said, "With pleasure. Who should I buy a drink?" She goes, "Be careful." And I was like,
Wow.
okay, fuck, like this is this shit that I love doing and going
That's a
out in the
great story.
world,
That's
right?
fantastic.
Like
That's fantastic. You
just
can't,
life.
yeah, you can't make that up, you know. The,
Right,
the greatest thing about getting out in the world, as you call it, which is a lovely way of putting it, um, is you encounter the way the world really is, not the way it's idealized.
right.
And you know, you and I have stayed in some of the best hotels in the world and the nicest places in the world. And I'm going to guess that, like me, you've stayed in some of the shittiest places in the world.
Oh God, yes.
And they've all been interesting. You know, in
Of
fact, the
course.
big ones are often more interesting, not nice, but more interesting. But the thing is, the idealized version of luxury travel, for instance, is this preciousness and the, you know, holding the stem of a champagne glass at sunset on a, you know, terrace somewhere.
Oh God,
I,
vomit.
vomit is right. I've never done it and I never will. And if I
Yeah,
found myself in
yeah.
that position, I would make my excuses and go somewhere else. Not
I'm
that
not good with
I'm not being a
stemware.
reverse snob. I'm not being a reverse snob. It's just that idealized phoniness.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
critical to what I find interesting in the world. But going into a place, and I've done this myself, many, many places in the world, you know, you go in somewhere, and at that moment, by the way, we are humbled by our ineffectiveness to be important to anyone
Right,
or
right.
important. We are at their whim, which is quite likely to be capricious. And
Uh-huh.
you know, you want to use the bathroom, and you're in Costa Rica, and you go into a little, you know, neighborhood local bar. You ask very nicely, "Can I use your bathroom, please?" And you encounter their reaction, whatever it is. Fill in the blank.
Right.
I had a great one today. I've not had that. It's a great one. But you know,
Yeah.
sometimes people are rude to you, and you walk out, and sometimes they're welcoming, and you know,
Right.
mostly I find people welcoming. I think they pick up on your energy, and if your energy is, you know, distrustful or in any
Right.
way negative, then they don't want to help you or like you.
Right.
Uh, I had that experience most pronouncedly in the two war zones I reported on for my magazines. One was Sarajevo post the ceasefire, literally just a couple of weeks after the ceasefire. And the other one was Kosovo, which I got there when the war was on, and they ended it the day I was able to enter the country. Great timing. And in those instances, people are hyper attenuated. It's more than
Right.
sensitive, attenuated. They are really, really binary. They like you, they don't like you. They're hungry, they're not hungry. They're cold, they're warm. Everything is
Right.
binary because it has
Right.
been a honed survival instinct. If
Right.
they're talking to you, they survived.
Yeah.
And they
Wow.
knew people who didn't. So they were just tuned in to whether or not you were an asshole. That's basically it. You are or you are not an arsehole. You are not somebody I want to talk to. And you're at their whim. I mean, first of all, you're in a country where the infrastructure has been destroyed. There's nothing to depend on. There's no one to talk to but the person right in front of you. And you encounter, I've always said this about war zones, you encounter the human spirit at its rawest, its
Yeah.
most stripped down and its rawest essence. And that's actually probably its most glorious. I've had some
Right.
unbelievably wonderful, heartwarming experiences and some absolutely chilling ones that have shown me the evil the man is capable of, but mostly the glory of the kindness man is capable of. And when I say
Right.
man, I mean mankind, obviously, but
Right. Right.
both sexes have been equally nice and equally not nice. But
Yeah.
you never get that in New York City on a Wednesday afternoon. Everything is
Yeah.
filtered through the very many filters of a
Yeah.
person's agenda, and
Yeah.
countering you
Yeah.
is either a pain in the ass or an opportunity. That's really
Well,
their binary thing.
isn't this one of the many reasons why you started Wanderlust Travel? Because this is the kind of thing. I mean, you always challenge all the writers. I mean, I've been writing for you for Wanderlust and being part of your team for over a decade, and we do these editorial calls, and I hear you on the calls. You encourage people to go out to find this humanity, to tackle luxury in a different way. I mean, it's not like you're telling people to go to the war zone, but you're telling
No,
people to go and find that same thing that you're talking about, that
yeah,
version of humanity where we're not putting up the barriers, we're not pretending to be with us fucking stemware on the sunset. We're doing the other stuff, which in your mind, and I think in mine, that is actual luxury, right? It's like being
yeah.
able to be yourself is probably much more luxurious than a luxury hotel. Being able to tap into that real version of yourself, that I think is what Wanderlust is so much about, and I think in Ethos what you're about.
It's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of it in exactly those terms, but I agree with you in exactly those terms. And my motto, and you've heard this many times, for Wanderlust is people first, buildings second.
Right.
It's about humanity. It's about because otherwise buildings, someone else can describe the building better than you or I.
Yes.
We describe
Yes.
it better than they do. Big deal. One day uh, somebody comes along and describes something that no one will ever do better. But it's not that important. Um, and it's interesting if you make it interesting, but people are always interesting. They're never not interesting,
Right.
as an encounter. And I deliberately gave the subtitle to Wonderlust as it's a big world after all, because of course the famous phrase is the small world after all.
Yeah.
And it's not, even though since Disney proclaimed it was a small world decades and decades ago, the world has grown infinitesimally connected down to the most finite degree. There's an inch on the planet that Google Maps can't show you. Well, there's some they won't show you because of restrictions, but they've mapped it whether they show you or not.
Right.
And there's nowhere that hasn't been Instagrammed and Facebooked, and there's nowhere that some travel advisor can't tell you about. He or she can tell you where to get peanuts on a street in Prague. So it's not like the world when National Geographic was discovering tribes every month and new islands and new countries at one point,
Yeah.
less than
The
100 years.
colonialization of the world, right?
Yeah, yeah, they were discovering and adding to the map, like adding pieces to a jigsaw at one
Right.
point. Not in our lifetime, but not much longer. And so, in that sense, it's hyper connected and hyper cataloged.
Yeah.
But to say it's small is to do a disservice to the fantastic complexity of humanity.
Yeah, I agree. And it doesn't feel like who wants to live in a small world? Like I
Mhm.
mean, and I also think like part of the Wanderlust things, it's like it's a big world, but it's also like it's one of there's so many big worlds, right? Like I'm just a believer in that. Like there's so much
Mhm.
other stuff that we don't know, and I probably will not know in this lifetime, even if that schmuck takes us to Mars, like whatever. Like it doesn't feel real to me, but in a way, I don't care that it's physically real. In my fantasia, it's real enough that there's worlds and
Mhm.
and discovery. But I guess as a travel writer, the challenge is when it's all done, when it's all part of the the kind of the zeitgeist, right? If it's all part of like it's on the Instagram, it's in the this, it's in the everywhere, like you can see it everywhere, you can experience it everywhere. Then what's so weird to me is like, why the fuck do you want to listen to that and do exactly what that person's doing and go to exactly the same thing that that person's done?
Right.
And that's our job, right, Bob? Like that's what we're
Right.
trying to do on
Well,
Wonderlust is be like, don't, let's find a new path for you.
well, I think just to be a little more specific, um, and I don't think I've ever really thought of it in these terms. It's been an instinct rather than a conscious thought. But what we're saying is, you know, travel is unique to each one of us. Not only is it a massively large world in the sense philosophically that it's so complex, no one can ever understand all of it, no one can ever encounter all of it. That's one way of doing it. But the other thing
Well,
is,
I'm working hard at it, by the way.
well, you may come closest, but I mean that like, unbelievable where you go, but it's also think about this. Every day is unique. So I can have
Yes.
a meal at a restaurant. I had a great, phenomenal meal at Phuket's hotel in New York a couple of weeks ago. Elijah and I had our 22nd anniversary. We had a
Oh,
dinner there.
sweet, sweet.
It was outstanding. And I mean, just an amazing meal, amazing setting, beautiful, everything. Now, I didn't write about that, but I could, right? So I could write about that. And you would not really get the same experience, even if you went and ordered the exact same thing, sat in the exact same seats, you
Right.
know, because that's the way the world is. Every day is different. Every
Yeah.
hour is different. So what do we do then? Are we lying when we write our reviews of places and things? No.
Mm,
We're
mm,
what we're doing is we're chronicling our experience. And
mm.
we're saying, I'm a thoughtful, sensitive, hopefully intelligent person who has encountered this place, this time, this food, this mood, this weather, this spectacular day, this awful day. And in encountering it, these are my observations. And these are the things that are possible. And these are the things that made it nice for me or great for me and memorable for me. And so what I'm saying is it's more like a guidepost. Like I can hand you a map but you have to go find the place for yourself. You also have to go find that experience for yourself. And you will
Mm.
have your own experience. And all I can do is say, this place was pretty damn good, in my experience. And I would recommend it, just as two friends could recommend a place to go to dinner or a movie to see. And so I think that's what we do at our best. And I think we do it at Wonderlust, and I don't know a lot of other places do it, to be honest. Not a lot of other travel sites. I'm not here to bash anybody. Don't have that kind of, you know, wide open fascination for what they're going to encounter and that love in their hearts that allows them to encounter things.
Right.
Um, and I think that's very important. Love in the heart. Every artist, from Picasso to Faulkner, and not very many others in that chain, all say the same thing. Essentially, they say art is love.
Right.
And you think about it and go, well, that's a nice thing to say. Yeah, it's a nice Hallmark card. But in actual fact, it's true. And I've said that if you don't love everyone, you can't feel the pain for them, which you express in your art. If
Yeah.
Picasso didn't love humanity, even if he was a prick, which apparently he was by all accounts, even his
Hmm,
own.
hmm.
But if he didn't love humanity, maybe it's only the notion of humanity. How could he have painted Guernica?
Yeah.
You
God,
know,
which is amazing.
right? He couldn't
Yeah.
have because what that painting does is evince the incredible pain, the hell-like suffering. If you look at that painting, it's actually very similar to depictions of hell in the Renaissance and medieval times.
Right.
where they were trying to keep you away from it, and say, you don't want to go here. And Guernica
Right.
looked like that. Guernica looked like hell.
Yeah.
And but I think you have to love to care that much uh,
Mm.
to express something like that. So I believe that all art is essentially comes from the wellspring of love. And I think that travel writing and editing and photography, which is not always an art or very artistic, nonetheless comes from the same thing.
Right. It's the same
And
well. Yeah.
curiosity is the word we most often use. And I
Yeah.
think you can't do this stuff without being curious. But curious comes from a place of caring, and caring comes from love. So,
Yeah.
any site or magazine can review the Hotel for Guests. But if they try to do it in a way that will either make you buy a ticket to go there, or in a way that somehow it's meant to, endear them to a publicist so they get more invitations, there's a phoniness to that.
Yeah. And I sense that. I sense that. I feel
I do
that from a
too.
lot. Yeah. And I think the reader, the smart reader does understand, they feel that, and then they feel like, well, this is just, well, then it's basically advertorial, right? And there's a place for that, but that's not what
Sometimes
we're
it's worse.
doing.
Sometimes it's out and out deception
Yeah.
for whatever personal agenda. But again, I don't want to just knock what happens. I like to focus. I mean, for the purpose of this conversation, which you've started so well, I'd like to focus on the sort of romance that I know you
Mm.
bring and I bring to what we do.
There is
Um,
a romance, and maybe there's some part of that that we're trying to reignite, right? Like, I mean, on our last call, our editorial call, I thought you really placed a sort of a reminder to tap into that romance, and it sort of stayed
mhm,
with me, and I've been sort of ruminating, like really sitting with it and thinking about it. I mean, I love so many writers, so many, and for very different reasons. I happened to pick up a book which I've had on the shelf forever, and I just hadn't read it, and then I just picked it up again, Didion and Babbitts, and it's the relationship between Joan Didion, who I'm a very big fan of.
mhm,
Um, I'm also very critical of her for many reasons, but some of her work I absolutely love. And Didion and Babbitts, and it channels the very interesting relationship that Joan Didion had with Eve Babbitts, and Eve Babbitts was an artist, a sort of LA girl. She was
mhm.
fucking Jim Morrison. The reason we know that Jim Morrison has a big dick is because of Eve Babbitts, I
Right.
think.
The
And
plaster, did she do the plastic thing? Was it?
exactly. No, I'm sure it was her. Um, and there's this great photo of Deschamps who had just upturned the urinal, and
Mhm,
he's playing chess he's sitting at a table playing chess, and there's a naked woman sitting in front of him playing. He's ignoring her. He's kind of the photograph is sort of him not even paying attention to her and just
mhm.
focusing on the
I know the
chess,
photograph, yeah.
and that's Eve Babbitts. And in fact, at the last minute, she decided she wanted to shield her face. But so what's very interesting about this book is it sort of takes Joan and puts her in that, like, Joan, the person who wanted to climb this ladder, the literary ladder, who wanted to write. I mean, she was a travel writer in a way, like I would say, and she was so it was a persona that she created, that she commercialized, that she wanted to be successful, and she won at the competition of, let's say, travel writing, right? Like, or writing. She did all the things to make her success, to win the awards, to have the fame. And Eve Babbitts is kind of the yin to her yang. She's the, like, she was the slutty girl who was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna make art. I don't need to sell it. I am art. And she was
Mhm,
going around town and living and doing stuff. Stravinsky was her godfather. She was
mhm,
dating interesting people. She was doing drugs with famous people. Like, she was just doing it without thinking about it. She would write. She couldn't create fiction. All she could do is do memoirs things.
mhm,
But it's been on my mind a lot. Like, so what is art? Like, which is the more creative? Which is the more valuable? Or are they just both? And I love this idea of, like, Joan Didion, ice queen perfectionist, like, climber trying to achieve and then this, and they were friends until
Hmm.
they became foes. And it's this great book. I am loving
Yeah.
it, and it's a great sort of
What's it
it's
called?
a great way of thinking about writing and travel writing, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, did she write these things because she was very much trying to communicate a thing that she thought would be lauded and praised, whereas Eve Babbitt's was like, fuck it, I'm just going to say what I want to say and do what I want to say and do and
Hmm.
feel. And these two women kind of competing, but sort of mirroring each other. It's very, very interesting. And I've been thinking a lot about how travel writing shows you so much of this, right? Like you're on the road and you're sort of feeling these feelings. And you know, I start writing something and I'm like, oh, I'm down a path of of control. And then I start
Hmm.
writing something and I go, oh no, I'm down a path of no control. I'm on the Eve path, I'm on the Joan path. It's been a very interesting I mean, I don't know how much time you have for reading, but this
I'd love to
would be
read that.
interesting. I would recommend this book, speaking of recommendations.
Yeah, no, I'm intrigued already. Absolutely. And Liza's a total fanatic for Joan Didion, and she's been reading her diaries. Um,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
but let me just
We
say, I want to say a couple things. One thing is, I've always said the best travel writing is in crime novels,
mm,
especially foreign to us, i.e., Swedish, German, French, Italian, because the location and the personality, the ambience of the place is an essential character to the story. You can't read Montalbano, the Inspector Montalbano series by Andrea Camilleri, without feeling, breathing, and almost tasting, because he describes the food he eats, tasting Sicily. So the best writing I've ever read about Sicily ever was in fiction by Andrea Camilleri in his Inspector Montalbano series. Um, I feel like I have to remind myself I've actually not been to Sweden and I've not been to Stockholm, but I feel so utterly familiar with it because I read uh, books by, what was it, the Martin Beck series,
oh,
Per Wallhu and his wife, and I can't remember her name, she has a more difficult name. They were a husband and wife team of crime reporters who decided to write fiction. But you feel Stockholm. Your skin is cold because it's cold there. You're hungry and you eat with them. And it's that tremendous sense of place that you get because
wow.
it's so necessary. Otherwise, it's just Joe shot John and Dick found the way to capture him and so on and so forth, the cuffs on him. It's such an essential part of the,
Good on Dick.
yeah, well, I know you do. And it's such an essential part of the story. So think about it like that. Next time you read a crime novel,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I recently read, I don't read enough because I read so much for work. So it's often I don't even have the energy or the time to sit down with a good book. But I recently sat down and read from cover to cover Bruce Chatwin's book about
Oh,
an African nation.
yeah, yeah.
I forget the name of the book. It's a famous one of his. And there's an old woman who's dying, and when she dies, the family will no longer have any importance. And the story of how they got there, being part of the slave trade, they were slave trading to the West, and fantastic. Well, the writing is unbelievable. I don't know how this guy gets the words he gets. Um,
Wow.
I was stopping to look him up because the words were so great, and everything was the right word. Amazing writing, amazing thing. Did not give me a better sense of that place than a damn good crime novel. you know.
Wow.
So it's interesting. The other great travel reporters are war reporters
Yeah.
because
You have said that.
they're writing about the human condition laid most bare and in the place they are, and that illuminates the place they are. So the great travel writers are not travel writers. I think you're a great writer. I think you can write anything, and I hope I'm a good writer and I can write anything. So I don't mean we're not chopped liver, but and there's another great travel writer. Just mentioned Bruce Chatwin. What's his name? what's his name? Pico Iyer. Is it Iyer?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Gorgeous
Phenomenal.
writer. Gorgeous writer.
Always right.
Is that
But they're great writers and they happen to write about travel. Um, but travel writing itself, without this spirit of humanity, without the spirit of the search for the humanity in the story, is limited. Now, there are times as a publisher, I have to publish things that are also useful, so people can get a sense of where they might want to go or
right?
a sense of what that place may be. So not everything is the pursuit of the soul of humanity, but it is illuminative of the site to carry some of those pieces. And in everything
Right.
we do, we look for that. And the other thing is, that we always look for is humor. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that it was an advertorial for Wonderlust. I'm saying it because I think humor describes the human condition perhaps better than anything else.
Yeah.
Nothing is a greater connection. Elijah and I were in St. Martin once many years ago, and it was in between breakfast and lunch, and the staff would congregate on the terrace above the swimming pool, where Elijah and I were already drinking. I have to be honest. And the staff was above us, on slightly out of view, but not out of earshot, and they were all laughing, having a great old time. They're obviously taking some jokes. I hope they weren't laughing at us. I don't think they were. They were laughing. And I said to Elijah, I said, life, laughter is the sound of being safe. It's just this sound of safety. And nothing bad is going to happen to you when you're laughing. That's an innate instinct, I think. And it is also the thing that, humor is the thing that breaks down all barriers. But laughter breaks down all resistance. It's hard not to like somebody when you're laughing with them or you're listening to them laugh. And when you think about it, all the stuff we're talking about love, humor, art, laughter, utterly primal. We're not
Yeah.
talking about the great pate at a restaurant or the amazing short ribs at Daniel Boulou. I mean, those things are great too. They're part of the pleasure experience. But
Right.
really, what we're talking about, and I think this is the essence of what travel reporting seeks to do at its best, is the soul of humanity, the primal essence of that
Yeah.
humanity, the
Yeah. That's
primal
the
way
reason.
we,
Yeah.
you know, um, we don't connect as much with language as we do with a smile, you know.
Yeah.
And I know this all sounds very romantic and idyllic, but I think that's what it is. You know, uh, people traveled as the first thing they ever did. When they got out of the caves, they migrated. People talk about the indigenous people of America, for instance, being the Native Americans. Well, they're not really. They're Native Mongolians,
Yes.
across the strait.
Right.
And we
They were
all came from
always on the
Africa.
move. Yeah.
Yeah, we all
It is our
migrated.
it is our essence. We are meant to move. There's something about movement and
Mhm.
and that sense of adventure that is very, very primal. And and it is something that I think about a lot, right? Michael's always like, you don't want to sit still. But I and he's like, is there something you don't want to face about yourself because you just don't want to sit still? And it's and when he says it to me, because he says it to me if every while he'll say that to me, and then I'll start thinking about it, and I'll sort of ponder it and sort of feel it and taste it and sort of, mill it in my mouth and kind of chew on it. And then I think it's not, it's not that there's anything I don't want to face about myself. I know that this is all I get, and I want to taste and do everything. So
Mhm.
I'm just so aware of, at some point I was in South Africa and I was like growing up in South Africa, like I felt so cut off from the world and from the things that I wanted to see and what I was seeing in magazines and books and TV and all the things, right? And I wanted to go and do it all. And I felt sort of stuck in a Johannesburg suburb or a Pretoria suburb, and I couldn't get out of it. So
Mhm.
now I'm like, oh my God, like take me out in the world.
Mhm.
And it's not, there's nothing that I particularly don't want to face by standing still because I feel like I am standing still so many times, right? Like I was this morning very early. I was awake and I was in a small little town in Oregon, you know, and I was kind of just walking around with the dog and sort of meditating and wondering about this place and this sort of the adventure of the West and the Pacific Trail and that book Wild. Cheryl Strayed wrote that book and it sort of set people on this course. And you see all these hikers come in and I was wondering what they were, are they hiking? What are they seeing and wondering about themselves? And all of it was just, it all felt like I was processing. Like it didn't feel like I was running. It felt
Mhm.
part of the process.
We're going to take a little break to have a word from our sponsors.
I am Sarah Scarborough, founder of Tea Huntress. For me, tea is so much more than a healthy beverage. Stretching across millennia, tea has been revered as a ritual, a meditation, a wellness practice, a way to reconnect with yourself and others, and to cultivate moments of stillness and beauty. Visit us at teahuntress.com to discover high vibe teas, an immersive online tea school, and transformational experiences that will awaken you to the magic of life. That is teahuntress.com.
You're back in.
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, actually, when you were talking about the humor part, I was thinking um, a lot of that, I guess, is what you.
Hey, can I just say something about taste?
Oh, yeah, yeah. First, tell me the taste thing before you
Taste,
forget.
because before I forget,
Well, you're old. You're going to forget. So,
I've
yes.
already forgotten it. No,
Who is this on the phone?
hello, is that my nose? I said to somebody today, I said, senility can't come soon enough. All the fantasies I've had seem real.
I like
Um,
that.
but anyway,
The
the reason
taste.
we are known as Homo sapiens,
We're known as homosexuals, Bob.
well, you are known as a homosexual. I'm clinging to Homo sapiens. Homos
Fine,
I'm going to get
fine.
in this
Get your
relationship.
nails in. Get your nails in.
You know,
Cling
scratch,
hard.
scratch, scratch, scratch. Um, but the species is known as Homo sapiens because sapiens is a derivative of the word sapore, which was Latin for taste.
Mm. See?
And
Homo taste. Told
yeah,
you.
we are mankind. We are the species that tastes. It doesn't just mean physically tasting food, but tasting life. Isn't that interesting?
I
That
love that. It's interesting you say that because I have a friend whose mother um, just made some ice cream. She's kind of a militant health nut, and she made these
Mhm.
ice creams, and she was like, "Oh, try them, try them." And she had them over. We were in California, and she had them over, and they were so fucking disgusting. It was like all these bad flavors together, like just revolting. And and she said. No, it's not about the taste. It's about feeding the cells. And I thought, no, fuck that. I don't want to live like that.
Oh,
I am about the taste, bloody fucking hell. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, I don't, the
Well,
cells
I don't
must
want to.
feed themselves. Work it out, cells, because
Yeah,
I'm here for
exactly.
the taste, baby.
Then some salmon into your diet, you'll be all right.
Yeah, right.
I just believe the healthiest thing we can do for each other, I mean, for ourselves and each other, is be happy.
Yes.
Not to the point of ridiculousness of just abusing your body and stuffing yourself with 18,000 calories a day. No, you're not going to be happy for long, but enjoy life. That's a better way of putting it. Enjoy life. And again, coming back to what we're talking about with travel, it's about enjoying life ourselves, but watching other people enjoy their lives, which are usually invariably simpler ways than us. I
Mm.
was in Costa Rica not long ago, and it was at Nayara, which was a fantastic, maybe the best resort I've ever stayed in. I think maybe arguably the best in the world. Phenomenal place, gorgeous. But in that country, which is incredibly poor, people are incredibly happy. You know,
Right.
because they're content. And contentment is a great gift. I think it's
Right.
the greatest gift. I strive for it. And when you see it somewhere else, you want to tell people about it. And
Yeah.
you may not use the word contentment, but you're actually describing contentment. When we describe the local atmosphere somewhere, we're invariably describing contentment or a lack of contentment, which is a different thing, which is conflict. And, you know, I hope your listeners will indulge us, but we keep talking about romance, but there's nothing more romantic in the human endeavor than seeking answers and seeking experiences and being curious about places, whether they're the height of luxury or the simplest of places.
Right.
And you know, it's a little too facile to say, oh, my best experiences have been the simplest, but some of them really have. And some of them have been really great luxury experiences, like Nayara,
Yeah.
Costa Rica. But I tell you what, I do actually remember more. Elijah and I brought this up the other day. She brought it up the other day. We were in Montserrat for a few days once, and
Mm.
I was there to ostensibly write an article. I never actually got around to writing it because it wasn't really possible to do so, about the world's worst soccer team, which was Montserrat. They were the lowest FIFA. They didn't have any games on when I was there. They didn't have a coach and a team. There wasn't much to write about. But anyway, Liza joined me, and there was a day we were just walking up a hill, and there was a, stand, like a food truck. It was actually kind of like a, stationary food truck, wasn't going anywhere. And we just said, oh, let's eat a hamburger. Fuck it, we'll have a hamburger. No expectation of this being anything healthy or quality. And we still talk about it to this day. And that was 22 years ago.
Wow.
That's how good that hamburger. It was just a great hamburger, but it was all the experience, the moment, the lack of expectation, the fact it was $1 for each hamburger, and it was on a nice piece of bread, and the meat was obviously impeccable meat, probably belonged to a living animal day before. Um, and we're just blessed when we can, not just when we can experience traveling. I've seen, and you and I both know a lot of these people, the professional travel writers and editors, and some of them are really deadly dull people
Yeah.
because all they achieve is getting on a trip.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and they go here, they go there, they go here, they go there. They have the fake experience of being treated as if they're important for 72 hours, the
Yeah.
73rd hour. But they do it again. It's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And, I feel sorry for them because I don't, I don't know, maybe they're racking up something that's very important to them. But so who knows? But I think it's not about that. I don't think it's about just, well, now I'm at this wellness bar. I'm going there. This place just opened. I'm going to go there and I'm being hosted and blah, blah, blah. I think you're blessed when you have the humblest and simplest of experiences, and you are able to commune with people you would never ever meet and probably will never ever meet again.
Yes.
Some place you may never even go to again. And they were nice to you. They took you in. They were welcoming. They had all the power. You don't even speak the
Yeah.
language. They have all the
Yeah.
power. And they're nice to you and welcoming and give you a kindness, or they share a joke, or you buy them a drink. When I taught journalism for that year, that you know about, your readers don't, your listeners don't know about,
Yes.
I taught journalism for a year at Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that was a great experience, phenomenal experience. And I said to my students from day one, I'm going to tell you, I said, you will not remember 99% of everything I tell you in this class. That's just the way you just won't. Nobody does. I said, so I want you to remember only really a couple of things. And those things I want you to remember, and they'll be useful to you, trust me. I said, let me tell you the first rule of journalism. Very first rule of journalism is buy everybody a drink.
Oh,
Boom,
yeah.
that's it. You want to go wrong. Buy them a drink, they'll tell you the stories. That's it. Mission accomplished. And so I put it on the test at the end of the year. So what's the first rule of journalism? It was an oral test, and nobody got it. There was always be factual. Double check your facts, and
Oh, fuck
never
off.
write first person. I had told them they could write,
Oh, God.
but no,
Write
it's
whatever.
everybody a drink.
Yeah, that's such great advice. And I believe that. I mean, my friends Sue and Gail, this is how they travel. They just go out in the world and they're buying everybody fucking drinks. And then the adventure, we just went to Sri Lanka with them and we were in Singapore with them. And this is just the attitude they have. And then things happen, adventure happens. I mean, there's a part of this that's like, I guess one part of this is like, we're able to say this contentment, we see that happiness and joy because in a way we're well, we're upper middle class. Like we're able, like, I always think when Oprah says, money doesn't matter, everything just be happy. I think, yes, bitch, but you're a fucking billionaire. Now,
Yeah.
I love Oprah. She can do no wrong in my book. This is not a dig at Oprah, but it's a
Mhm.
dig. It's this way of like, I do often think about like, I- I'm very privileged and I've had all these wonderful experiences. But there's a part of me that also reflects on the fact that like yes, I can be happy because I'm not ill. I'm not dirt poor. And in Sri Lanka, people didn't have money. There were lots of people that did not have a lot of money. And I thought a lot of them looked very happy. And maybe that had to do a little bit with Buddhism. Buddhism, Papa, which
Mhm.
we'll talk about White Lotus in a minute. But yes, there was an exception. And people felt like they were accepting their dharma, right? Like this is the way it is. It doesn't mean you can't dream or be as aspirational or build things or whatever, but it felt less grabby and more, it felt less gross to me. Like I often think like a lot of these people in the media that you read about, they seem so grabby and they can't get enough and they need more money and they need more and more money, more problems, they say. But it feels like there's their unhappiness. Like you read these celebrities that kill themselves and you think, whoa, like you were supposed to be the one that had it all, but they don't, right? That's the point because
You
they
know,
can't just appreciate the simple, the little, the
people who
nothingness.
people who need more are buckets with holes in them, trying
Yeah,
to trying to be full and they can't be full. But I
yeah,
gotta say this, and it sounds, you know, sweeping and it sounds Hallmark cardy, but it is entirely true and the result of a long life of experience. But the great majority of the happiest people I've ever met have been poor. The great
yeah.
majority of the unhappy people I've ever met have been rich. Um,
Yes. It's weird that
whether
that's true, right? But I feel it
entirely
myself.
true, entirely true. I mean,
Yeah,
by factors of thousands. You know,
yeah, yeah.
I have met unhappy poor people. I've met happy rich people,
Right, of
but
course, of
but it's
course.
not the norm. And I think, um, you know, I envy very little in life at all, really do. And at this age, I'm not going to start envying things. But if I have an envy, it would be that I see the simplicity that invariably yields contentment and happiness.
Yes, yes,
But I am cut off from that. And I know what it is, and I see the results, but I cannot do it. And why is that? I take the result. Well, it's because I'm cursed with ambition.
yeah,
Not the ambition to be incredibly wealthy. I have been wealthy and I have been poor. And I was poor after I was wealthy. So I've been up and down. But not that ambition. I want to be financially secure only. That's all I care about. But um, I am ambitious to create and to
yes,
do. And I hear something new and it starts to be processed through
yeah,
this intellectual intestines that I have. This,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it goes through my intellectual intestines and it becomes
Poop.
compelling and it becomes poop. A lot of it is poop. Most of it's poop. But in the meantime, before it's poop, it's really compelling. You've read too much of my stuff to know it's all
Yeah,
poop.
right. It's all
But
poop. No, but I can relate. We're the same in this way. Like that it is a curse. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous curse.
yeah, it is. But it is our lot. I'm not sure it's a curse. It's our lot.
Yeah.
When my dad died, I spoke at his funeral. It was a very short, very small funeral, just 12 people. We kept it that way. It was just a family, basically. And I eulogized and I said, my father lived the life God gave him to live,
Mm.
which was I had no prepared remarks. I had no idea what I was going to say until the priest said, Bob wants to say something. And I got up and I said that. And I thought, that's it, because everything else is judgmental. He
Yeah.
was that kind of man. He was that kind of man. He was both kinds of men, is what the truth was. He was, I don't think he was as bad as the worst that was thought of him. He had elements of him that were not attractive. And he
Yeah, like
was,
all of us.
yeah, yeah, true. And he was great, a great artist, a great painter, a great writer, a great inventor, media inventor, a great philosopher, a great romantic. But he had his darkness too, and that darkness became more public because he put himself in that limelight. But
Yeah.
whatever it was, he lived the life God gave him to live. And I think we all have to realize that and remember that, and also understand that of others.
Yeah.
When I see people be condescending to somebody, I go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Who
That's the worst crime. That's
made
high
you
crime.
perfect? Who made you perfect?
Yeah.
Um, and we must understand other people live the life God gave them, and sometimes people are failing to do so. They are trying, maybe tried, maybe they didn't try, and in effect, they wind up living a sort of failed version of the life God gave them.
Yeah.
But I strive to live the life God has given me, even though I know I'd be a lot happier if I was a potato farmer or a fisherman. Oh, I'd
Oh, right.
really be happy as a fisherman. I love fishing.
Oh,
And I
really? I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I don't mean standing in a lake with a rod. I mean out deep at sea, catching big fishes, um,
Wow.
or even little fishes, but out at sea and that solitude and that
Sounds beautiful.
drama.
Cold.
Yeah, it's cold sometimes it's hot, but it's drama and it's, you know, again, it's primal. Um,
Yeah.
I know I'd be very happy. I would have been very happy, almost 70 years old. I would have had almost 70 years of happiness if I'd been a fish.
Wow. The
And
old man in the sea.
yeah, yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah. Not less of the old man, please.
Oh, fine. The young man in the sea. I love that book.
I just found out that technically you're middle aged until you're 65. I didn't realize
Great.
that. Once
Great.
I hit 60, I was like, oh, I guess I'm old now.
No,
But
you're not old. You're
I
not
had
old.
more years than I realized.
The the interesting thing is that it's like I sometimes sit with this idea of like, well, like I am just a happy person. I mean, let's ignore the moment in COVID. Like I had a little blip, fine. And when I was in my 20s, I had a big fucking motherfucker blip. But besides for those two blips in my life, I'm a happy guy. Like I just saw a friend of mine who I'd not seen for 25 years. We were friends when we were little kids in South Africa, and she'd moved away. She'd moved to New Zealand, and we just saw each other in Auckland last week.
Mm,
And it was like no time had passed. We were laughing like fucking schoolgirls, and we were being silly and talking about how in love we were. We were in love when we were 12. We were singing, we were playing My Heart Will Go On, Celine Dion to each other. We were so pathetic, but
mm,
fabulous. And she
that's it.
taught me about, she had great music taste. And she would always be like, she would make me mixtapes and she'd send them across the ocean for me to listen to, and we'd fax each other, right? We were faxing each other, endlessly faxing, faxing, faxing. Oh God, and these fucking faxes would come and like roll up, and I'd go and read it, and we'd write all these things to each other. And
Mhm,
she said to me, she's like, I have not seen you for 25 years. You are exactly the same. You are still joyous. You are still a fucking fool. You are still smart and then a fucking witty motherfucker at the same time. And then you'll say something so profound and then you'll say something so ridiculous at the same time. And she's
mhm,
like, you have never changed. And I was like, that's the happiness that I know about myself. And
mhm,
it was And it was funny. I had to travel to go and get and to be reminded of it, right? It was great to
Mhm.
travel to fucking New Zealand, which is very far, to go and be like, yes, tap back into that human. That's the human that I love the most,
Mhm.
you know?
I'm with you, man. It's about loving life. It's
Yeah,
about loving life and trying to convey that in whatever work you do. Um, and ultimately, is there a better message to give anybody than love life? Because you only get one shot at it, and as far as we know, in this physical life.
right, right.
Might as well enjoy it and love it. And I hate these bromides, enjoy every second and live every minute, the
Oh
minute.
no.
God, no. I love
Love,
the
live,
love life
laugh,
and
laugh,
doing
live,
nothing.
whatever. Yeah,
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 but and you can't be happy every day. But you can be happy most days, and you can be happy whenever you get the chance, you
right.
know.
I'm trying
Sometimes
to get Michael to be happy today. He has some poison oak, so he's miserable.
you can be less
Um,
happy, and
he's
that
going to be
happens.
less happy today. It's true. It's
It's not,
true. And the
I'd
more
be unhappy with poison oak.
oh God, the more
Let's get
time progresses, the worse the poison oak's getting, and the more his mood is becoming miserable. So I'm hoping it goes away.
with medicine for that, you know.
Well, he's on the fucking Benadryl, but I don't know how much of that shit you can take.
Oh, I don't know either. I don't know either.
Well,
But
speaking of happiness, do you feel like you had I feel like you've infused a lot of that happiness and that kind of but this sort of happy with a little snark, with a little joy, with a little nudge nudge when you did Spin magazine, which
Mhm.
I of course read when I was much younger, and now I'm reading and writing for again now that you've brought the publication back. But
Mhm.
is that one of the reasons that you wanted to do a music magazine? I mean,
Well, uh, yes and no. Um, it it was the reason I wanted to do a magazine. It was incidental that it was music.
mhm,
People find strange because it was the top music magazine in its time. At the time that I had it, declined a little afterwards, but um, in that it was incidental in that I loved music. So it was
right.
a natural segue into covering. But most of all, I was discovering at that time, I was 28 when I thought of it and started working on it, 28 when I first published it. And I was discovering other music, African music, classical music, jazz. It started to really become exponential, my discovery of music. So it wasn't just the stuff I loved, which was the new wave stuff and the English stuff and great American rock and roll, but I was learning at a tremendous clip about all this new music. So when I started the magazine, I brought that enthusiasm into it. And from the very first issue, we talked about jazz, we talked about African music, we talked about people no one had ever heard of. We talked about rap. In 1985, there wasn't a single white magazine that had been covering rap.
Mm,
Uh, and even the black magazines weren't covering it. I was reading about rap from a magazine in England called The Face. You probably remember The Face.
of course.
And so I was reading about a music that was happening 10 miles from where I lived, but I was reading about it in a magazine published 3,000 miles away from where I live. Well, not quite three, but two something, 2,500 miles. So we broke a lot of barriers with Spin, but it was because I brought an enthusiasm for
Yes.
music discovery at that point of wanting to do this magazine. And also, I thought magazine was, I mean, music was like a solvent, like a message. It brought messages into your bloodstream. It was direct into your bloodstream. It had that kind of emotional power. And so all of these factors were there. But the real reason I was excited and enthused and um, worked so hard for so long to make Spin what it was a desire to tell stories. It
Yes.
necessarily a desire to be in the music business, which in fact I had no desire to be. And I almost never hung out with musicians, very rarely. Um, some I became friendly with, so I hung out with them, but I didn't want to know them particularly. I didn't go to where they were. Met them, shook hands, occasionally had a meal, but didn't really care to have a relationship because to me it was a job. We were covering their
Yeah.
industry. Nice to meet them, was great to meet him. I had only one experience really that was a person I didn't like meeting, and that was Johnny Rotten, who was still trying to be Johnny Rotten 20 years after the fact, and
Hmm.
and he was just a bore. But he was really the only one. You know, realized I enjoyed a little of something of everybody I ever met in the music business, but I didn't want to be part of it. I didn't want to hang out with them. I was just excited by my work. And when I started Wonderlust, it was because I was really excited about telling stories about the world, and travel
Yes.
was and is the medium to do that.
Oh,
So
it's the best. It's the finest medium to do that, I think.
yeah, well, it really is. It really is. It's experiential every single time you're jumping into the deep end of the pool. You know, thinking about it, you're jumping in, and every time and every day the pool is different.
Yeah.
Uh, but you get to tell stories, and stories are what drive me and excite me. Um,
Mm.
I'm not interested necessarily in telling stories about, I don't know, veganism. Pick a subject out of thin air that doesn't interest me. But
Hmm.
I am interested in telling most stories. And by the way, I would find interesting stories in veganism, just not enough to dedicate myself to write a
I would love to do a story on you. Bob Guccione goes vegan for a week. Like it would just be fascinating, trailing you, watching you traverse the vegan lifestyle.
God, I don't know if I could last a week.
No, I don't think you could.
You know, my problem with veganism is the smugness behind it. I
Yes, you're
most
not
of
smug
it,
enough to be a vegan. Fine.
no, I'd have to do some smug training.
I know someone who can teach you some smugness. We can get some smug training and
Oh,
then
that's
some
a lovely
cashew
idea.
cheese.
Smug
S-
training is a lovely idea for an
Smug
article.
training with a side of cashew cheese.
Yeah,
Delicious. Yeah,
yeah.
great.
I understand vegetarianism and the desire not to eat meat. Understand that I have to like meat, um, but I don't understand the sort of stridency of veganism. You know, the sort of
Right.
not all vegans are like this. Please let me just say that I
Of
understand not
course,
all.
of course. Of course.
But you get your Paul McCartneys who try to tell you what to eat. It's like, no, you know what? I'll tell you how to play the bass. you know, uh,
Yeah.
I don't tell you what to
I,
eat. You know,
I shouldn't tell you how to play the bass, uh, because
no.
you know
One thing he does do very well.
that's
Uh,
true. So, do you think that you will travel a little bit more? Are you feeling a travel itch? Are you feeling like you're
yeah,
ready to get out back in the world? Your doggy died, and Elfie, your beloved dog, kept you home for a long, long time, and now
good.
you have lost your beloved dog. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, I know he
Appreciate
was meaningful to you, and
very
you know,
and more so to Liza because he was really her dog and she was with him literally 24 hours a day every
well,
day.
yeah, that's how I feel about Ella. Like it's very hard to see them get older and to be, you know, and but it's a
It's
good reminder of our,
yeah.
our sort of temperate nature, temporary nature.
So your listeners understand as to why the Alfie prevented me from traveling is because he was sick and he had diabetes
Yes,
and he
yes,
required twice a day he required insulin shots and it was hard to impossible for one of us to do it on our own. So it required two of us. So, every morning and every night, it required us giving him treatments and there was a lot to look after. And it was too much for one person.
right.
And so he didn't travel. Yes. So, yes, I have an itch. And yes, I want to travel
Oh,
again.
good, good. I'd love to
Dying
scratch your
to.
itch.
Oh, yeah. I'm dying to write about some more trips.
Oh,
Um,
good.
Yeah, and but I'd never be like you. You travel like 3 times a week. I would travel once every few months, a couple of months.
Okay.
But also
Where
I
would you
got to
like to
run the
go?
site and edit it, and that's a full-time
Fair
preoccupation.
enough. Fair enough.
Places I want to go just for personal, I want to go back to Italy, anywhere in Italy, all places in Italy.
Yeah,
Uh,
how Italian are you? Actually, I don't think I've ever asked you this.
it's a good question. I am half Italian, my father's family was all from Sicily.
Right.
I would be half, and the other half is English. My mother was
Right.
all English, and I was born in America, so I'm a
Right.
citizen of America, but I feel Italian, and I feel English, but more Italian than English. Um,
Huh.
and I don't speak Italian, so I don't pretend to be an Italian.
Right.
A half, half my DNA is a Sicilian.
Was your father born in Italy or born in America?
He was born in America. His
Oh, like
parents,
Michael. Okay, so Michael, like Michael's family, like Michael's grandparents were Italian and came over. It's interesting.
yeah, actually, I'm not entirely sure if my father's parents were born here or Italy, and sadly everybody's gone now. I'm not sure I can find out, but we're either second or third generation Italian.
Okay.
And my dad grew up speaking Italian in the home and English both. Um, but he spoke fluent Italian the day he died. I
Wow.
don't
Okay, so
I
Italy,
understand it when
Italy,
I'm there, but I don't speak it.
Italy is on the list. Where else?
Well, there's not a great spots.
I mean, there's so many. It's impossible to, but it's just something that you
I
like.
think
I
it's the
am.
sort of first trips I'd really want to do. I'm going finally to Barcelona in September.
Oh, great. You're going to come see us because we'll be in Madrid.
Oh, well, if you're in Madrid, I will come see you for sure.
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, great. And that's a trip I'm excited about. The place I most want to go in the world is the least habitable or hospitable place. It's the empty quarter.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the desert it's in three countries, Oman and Yemen and I
Yeah,
think Saudi.
gorgeous.
Have you
Yeah.
been?
No, I'm going in May.
You're going in May, you're going to the empty quarter?
Yes, I am.
You are
I'm going
unbelievable.
in 3 weeks. Yeah. I will tell you about
Phenomenal.
that more.
Oh, tremendous. Well, that's a place that has always compelled me. Did you ever read Alfred Thesiger's book about the empty
No,
quarter
I have
called
not. But
The
I
Arabian
was just
Sea?
starting to do a little research and kind of
Well,
thinking
remember,
about
remember we did the loose cannon, the 100 greatest travel books of all time?
that was one of them.
That was one of the top ones. One of
Oh
the top.
yeah. I can't remember all those books. There's a lot of books, but I felt like we'd read a lot of those, but I not
Oh yeah,
this one.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I had not read most of them, but I read a lot of them. And it was interesting that the writers we were highlighting were people like Hemingway, Paul Bowles,
Yeah.
um, great
Well, I
writers. Paul Bowles writing about Morocco is the ultimate in travel writing.
right, Don Quixote.
Hemingway writing about Paris. And Don Quixote was number one.
Number one. God, it was
The
incredible. It
arbitrary,
is
yes.
incredible. It is incredible.
It is incredible. It's unbelievable. In many ways, it is the first travel book ever written.
Right.
So that was fun. But Thesiger wrote Arabian Sands about the empty quarter, which I read
Oh,
many years ago.
oh yeah, I shall read that. Well, okay, so this is not a segue, but I will fucking segue us to this right away because what we've not discussed is White Lotus, which I mean, thoroughly enjoyed, thought was very smart writing, and I particularly loved the last season, especially like the depth that went into and the characters. I had lived so much White Lotus, and the fact that White Lotus had become a kind of verb that we can even discuss it in that way, I just thought it was really, really good. And you had a different opinion.
Yes, in the immortal words of Mark Twain, difference of opinion makes for a horse race. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I have a completely different opinion. I thought it was execrable. I couldn't watch it. I watched bits of it because it was part of the cultural conversation. Um, and I just thought every scene that I saw, and I didn't see many, but half a dozen, were execrable, unwatchable dribble, um, phony, fake, poor acting, zero chemistry. And I realize I'm in a minority. Obviously, it's one of the most popular shows out there, and they're
Right.
doing them. And I sort of, I guess I can imagine the appeal. Part of it is this ultimate fantasy stuff of these gorgeous places where, you know, everything seems perfect. Uh, and I missed it, but I didn't
Until
have
someone dies. Everything's perfect until someone dies.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to me, they didn't die enough and fast enough.
I loved it. I thought season three was so smart. Like it was just so smart, and it tapped into like I mean, I love Parker Posey, don't get me wrong. That that she was just like such a highlight there. But like um I I thought there was a very smart sort of look at how spirituality and travel sort of palimpsest, and where that sort of palimpsest starts to blur and struggle and kind of shudder with each other. And I was riveted. So I really loved it. I can see the critique, but I sort of overcame that and found something else.
Really, that's oh, good for you. Yeah.
Fuck you.
Here's me talking about being open-minded, and I'm sounding like a closed-minded old bastard.
Well, you
Which is
might you might try season three and see something else. I don't know. Perhaps I will.
I might try sedatives and then watch season three.
Oh, fine, fine. There's a great sort of, if like I just watched the Easter eggs as they call them,
Hmm.
like the sort of hidden things that you didn't know that they were there, and and I was like, oh God, that's so smart, that's so interesting. So I don't know. I loved it, and as a travel person I had of course been to all these hotels, and I know those places, and I know those people. Oh God, do I know those people? Do I know those people? I mean, I've traveled with them, I've sat next to them. So I felt like the sort of the vantage point was fascinating. So I loved it. And maybe it gave travel people like, maybe I don't know, we it gave people like this sort of like, oh, travel isn't all this one thing, it's another thing too. So it added nuance for me to travel, which I appreciate.
Tell you what, you're describing something that sounds so interesting, except I've seen it. If I hadn't seen it, I'd be, I can't wait to watch it.
Oh yes, this is why they pay me the big money. Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, Bob Guccione, this has been a delight.
Oh, totally, man.
I
Thank you.
I always love talking to you. I learn things. You challenge me, you put ideas in my head, you lead me astray. You put me on a homo sapien road, and then I'm back on another, and I really appreciate it. We've had such a long friendship and working relationship, but you have always been one of, I mean, you are by far my favorite editor, 100% of all time. I say this to everyone, but I
Thank you.
really just appreciate always giving me thoughtful things, and 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 tasting with me. That I appreciate. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, man. Well, that was beautifully said. How beautiful. Well, I will speak to you probably in the next couple of days as your editor.
Yes, thank you. Okay,
Thank
Bob. Until
you, man.
soon. Thank you.
Beautiful. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.
Love back. Thank you.
Without Maps, the podcast is produced by Chandler Mays and written by me, Daniel Scheffler. Emotional support by Michael and the best dog in the world, Ella. Until the next episode, bon voyage and happy landings.
I am Sarah Scarborough, founder of Tea Huntress. For me, tea is so much more than a healthy beverage. Stretching across millennia, tea has been revered as a ritual, a meditation, a wellness practice, a way to reconnect with yourself and others, and to cultivate moments of stillness and beauty. Visit us at teahuntress.com to discover high vibe teas, an immersive online tea school, and transformational experiences that will awaken you to the magic of life. That is teahuntress.com.